Next, we're going to hear from Michael Stone, who's the author of the book Markup and Profit, A Contractor's Guide Revisited, which is frequently listed as a bestseller on Amazon. He spent over 50 years in the construction industry and is a popular speaker who has helped thousands of contractors build stronger, more profitable businesses with training and articles available on his website, markupandprofit.com. Michael, go ahead.
All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending. We're going to review 10 things you can do to make sure that you're profitable in 2018. They're all covered in our book, Markup and Profit, A Contractor's Guide Revisited, and so let's go take a quick look at what they are. First one is markup. Improper markup is the #1 cause of business failure in construction in America today. Now remember, markup is not a percentage. Markup is simply a number that when multiplied times your job cost will give you the sales price, and that sales price will include your overhead and profit. Okay? Now, specialty contractors should have a minimum markup of 1.35 up to a range up to 1.50. Remodeling contractors should have a minimum markup of 1.5, ranging all the way up to 1.7. New home construction contractors should have a markup of 1.26 all the way up to 1.40. Let's talk about owner's wage or salary. Now, as an owner, you must pay yourself every 2 weeks or monthly for owning and running your business. Now, if you're working on the job, that is considered a job cost, all right, and you must pay yourself for working on jobs, an hourly rate. If you're owning and running a business, then you pay yourself a salary. Okay, and that is under expenses on your profit and loss statement. Okay, too many contractors don't pay themselves at all. They just take money whenever they need it. That doesn't work. Now, if your spouse is working in your business, they must be paid a fair wage or salary or both for their work in your company. Now, if you don't pay yourself and or your spouse, you're working for free. That's the bottom line. The #3 reason construction companies fail is lack of use or improper use of good contracts. Now, your contracts need good cover your asset language. Okay? In other words, you need to have all the T's crossed, I's dotted, everything that's anything to do with the legality of your job needs to be covered in your contract. You should have legal language that covers such things as change work orders, punch list, and owner's responsibilities. The length of a contract will vary depending on the type of work you do. Handyman and specialty contractors can get by with 3- or 4-page contracts, but no less than that. Remodeling contractors are often 15 to 20 pages in length or even more. New home construction contractors should be using a small book for a contract to build their jobs. In today's litigious society, you cannot get by with a 1- or 2-page contract, not very long. Sooner or later, it's going to catch up with you in the courtroom. Now, your payment schedule on your contract should always be on the last page of your contract. If you'll take a look at this document we have up on the screen, you'll notice that it has a contract price, a down payment, progress payments, and your final payment should never be more than 2% of the sales price of the job. That's where all the talk of money should be on your contracts, which is on the last page, not up in the start or in the body of your contract. It should be on the last page of your contract. This stuff, this documentation here can be found on page 157 in our Markup and Profit book. Put your payment schedules on every contract and insist the customer follow that schedule. There's another one that a lot of contractors miss on. They let customers get behind on their payments. Don't do that. The first time they're late, you give them a warning. The second time they're late, you shut the job down. There's no nice way to tell you that if you don't do that, you don't have any recourse against them if they delay their payments and you don't call them on it. One other thing, no billing and no invoicing. Your payment schedule should be on your contracts, and you tell your customer up front that is going to be your bill or your invoice. We don't bill or invoice. That's just another expense we don't need. Your payment schedules on your contracts, we expect you to follow it. Punch list. Put your entire punch list procedure in your contract. If you do that, you eliminate the blue tape blizzard. Okay? 5 to 7 days prior to the job completion, you do a walkthrough with the owner and you make up your punch list. And the owner is required to accompany the contractor on this walkthrough, or they waive the right to any complaints or any additional items on the punch list at the end of the job. You write the punch list, they sign on it, you sign off on it, and then you get busy and do the work. When you're done with the punch list, the job is complete. Your final check is due. Anything that the owner finds after you write up the original punch list, anything they find after that is warranty work and will only be dealt with after you receive your final check for your work. That stops the blue tape blizzard. Change work orders. This is the number 2 reason contractors fail, the lack of use or improper use of change work orders. Okay, and here is how change work orders should be handled. They come to you with a change. Your customer comes to you with a change. You do a sketch if necessary or have the plans made as necessary. You do the estimate. You write out the change work order. You bring it to the customer for signature. If they okay it, then they pay you anything up to $2,500 change. They pay you in the entire amount up front. After over $2,500, they pay you half up front and the other half at the next scheduled progress payment on your contract. If a change comes up between the last progress payment and the final payment on your job, it's paid 100% up front. And all this is so that you never have more than 2% of the original sales price at the end of the job. That should be your final payment, no more than 2% of the job. Here's another example on change work orders where contractors fail. You'll notice at the top left we have company information, top right we have customer information. Right below that we have the changes on the job. Right below that we have the date change. In other words, when you are making a change to the job, you should always extend the completion date on your job. And then down at the bottom right hand corner, notice we have 3 numbers. We have the amount of the changes, we have the previous contract amount or the original contract amount, and then we have the new contract amount. By either adding or subtracting the changes and the previous contract amount, you end up with a new contract amount. Those 3 numbers must be on your change work orders now, so that these, if you ever end up in court, the judge doesn't tell you didn't give the customer full disclosure. Take a look at my buddy Herman here. Okay, that'll tell you everything you need to know about cost plus contracts. Cost plus is the worst possible method of contracting there is. It creates arbitrations at the rate of 9-to-1 over fixed figure contracts. It creates lawsuits at the rate of 3-to-1 and possibly 2-to-1 over fixed figure contracts. There's over 30 reasons why you should not be doing cost plus, and those are covered in chapter 4 in our book Markup and Profit Revisited. And you can also find them on our website at markupandprofit.com/cost-plus. It explains all the reasons you should not be doing cost plus. Job costing. This is one we found out from a lot of research. We have found out that less than 10% of all contractors do job costing. And I don't understand why. That's the primary thing that you do to make sure that you're estimating the jobs accurately. Okay? Job costing needs to be done on each job that you build. And then you send your reports to the appropriate people in your business so that everybody knows what the estimated amounts were, what the actual amounts were, and this gives you a chance to make your adjustments as needed so that your next estimate is even more accurate than the previous one. Your estimating should be within 2% of the cost of a job. In other words, your estimated cost should be within 2% of what it actually bills your jobs. And you can't do that very well without job costing. Year-end planning and review. Here's another one that people get a little lazy on and don't do. This is reviewing the year you've been through and planning for the next year as an example. All right. This is the time of the year you set your budget for the coming year. Take time to do the work. It takes about 6 weeks to do a good job of this. During your process, you set your salary based on 8% of your gross sales. That should cover you quite well. And then you must check your sales and your production each quarter to make sure everybody's on track, everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. If your sales are lower or your production is lower, then you need to reduce your overhead expenses. My 8th cardinal rule is you shall honor your overhead budget at all times and spend not otherwise. Now, your year-end review and planning, well, again, will take you about 6 weeks. You should be right in the process of doing it right now, but if you're not, then it's a good time to get started. And our company offers you 2 separate papers. Year-end planning and review part 1 and part 2, 13 typewritten pages on exactly how to do this process. If you follow through and do everything that's on those 2 pages, you will see remarkably better results in 2018. Gives you a chance to make some good money. One last thing, financial security for your company. This is an operating capital reserve account, all right? Total up your total overhead, divide by 12, come up with your average monthly overhead expense. If you're a specialty contractor, you should have about 5 months worth of overhead set aside. Remodeling contractors should have about 7 months worth of overhead set aside. Those building new homes should have about 9 months of overhead set aside. Once your account reaches your goal, then you cut your contributions back to 1/4 to 1/2 of 1%, and continue deposits in to keep your operating capital reserve account flush. Okay. Now this is by far the easiest method of keeping your company financially secure. It's far better than using lines of credit. Lines of credit cost you money from the minute you take them out until the time you pay them back. An operating capital reserve account, if you set it up, will make you money from day one, and it keeps right on going, and it keeps you out of a financial quagmire where you're getting hit with taxes or something else you weren't expecting, and all of a sudden you got to come up with money. This solves that problem. All right, that concludes the 10 quick things to make sure you make a profit in 2018. I thank you for attending today, and may the profits be with you.